For those already over 60, the information presented below may become a turning point in the near future. Prostate conditions are increasingly diagnosed in older men, and the most troubling part is that many do not realize how their everyday actions can, without obvious signs to them, contribute to the development of this problem. According to research by the American Urological Association, more than 90% of men over 60 suffer from some degree of prostate hyperplasia, often without realizing that their daily habits may be the cause. It is important to understand that aging itself is not the main factor. In most cases, the slow, continuous enlargement of the prostate is triggered by habits that men follow every day. In my medical practice, I have repeatedly seen patients aged 60 to 80 who, by making minor adjustments to their routines, maintained a comfortable and full quality of life. I have also met those who ignored their body's signals and faced complications that could have been prevented. In this video, we will examine the 10 most common habits that quietly fuel prostate growth, the last of which is undoubtedly the most dangerous. We are not seeking to cause panic, but to provide practical, evidence-based knowledge so you can act before your condition worsens. Please watch to the end and share with those who may find it useful. When it comes to prostate health, prevention starts with simple yet very important decisions. One of these is addressing chronic dehydration and its hidden consequences for the prostate. Lack of fluids, despite being widespread, often goes unnoticed among the factors that affect prostate health in older men. Many men cut back on water, believing it will reduce trips to the bathroom, especially at night. In practice, the result is the opposite. When you are dehydrated, your urine becomes more concentrated and irritates the tissues of the bladder and prostate. Constant stress over time provokes inflammatory processes, and inflammation is known to be one of the key factors contributing to prostate enlargement. Insufficient fluid intake also harms the body by disrupting the natural process of removing toxins through the urinary tract. As a result, waste accumulates, overloading the kidneys and bladder and, ultimately, the prostate. Restricting fluids in this case, instead of helping, only makes things worse. An additional aggravating factor is that many medications taken by older people have a diuretic effect. Without proper fluid replenishment, the risk of dehydration increases even more, along with genitourinary symptoms. The body sends clear signals: dark urine, burning with urination, unusual fatigue. But instead of rehydrating, many continue to avoid water, thinking this is the right approach. The best practice is to drink water evenly throughout the day, even in small portions. There is no need to overdo it. The goal is a pale yellow urine color, which indicates that the urinary system is functioning well. Changing this habit is easy and cost-free. Water is not the problem, but an important part of the solution. The ninth habit is avoiding long periods of sitting without breaks. A sedentary lifestyle is dangerous, especially for the pelvic area. Prolonged sitting without breaks negatively affects blood circulation in the lower limbs and exerts constant pressure on the prostate. This compression hampers normal blood supply to the tissues surrounding the prostate, provoking inflammation and slowing cellular regeneration. With insufficient oxygen, symptoms such as discomfort, frequent urges to urinate, and a sensation of incomplete bladder emptying worsen over time. Prolonged inactivity also weakens the pelvic floor muscles, which play a key role in urinary control. Weakness in these muscles makes complete bladder emptying difficult, leading to urinary stasis and heightened prostate irritation. Men who spend hours motionless in front of the TV, computer, or in comfortable armchairs are at risk. The gradual deterioration is subtle, yet significantly exacerbates symptoms. Prevention does not require much effort. Every 30 minutes, stand up, take a short walk, do a simple stretch, or at least consciously move your legs. Such simple actions reduce pressure and improve circulation. Failing to follow this habit allows inflammation to progress quietly. Fighting inactivity, even in everyday life, is a real way to protect prostate health with simple, effective methods. Caffeine, one of the most popular stimulants in the modern world, can negatively affect the body when consumed in excess. Too much caffeine stops being just a stimulant and starts putting undue strain on the bladder and prostate. It is important to note that caffeine has a diuretic effect, increasing urine production and, as a result, frequent bladder contractions. For those who already suffer from an enlarged prostate, this activity causes discomfort, urgent urges, and difficulty controlling urination. Caffeine also affects the muscles of the bladder neck, the area connecting the bladder and urethra. Excess contraction of these muscles makes full emptying of the bladder difficult and increases residual urine volume, which in turn increases pressure on the prostate. Constant consumption of strong coffee, dark tea, and energy drinks can aggravate existing problems. Daily exposure to these substances creates chronic irritation that provokes inflammation and worsens already present lower urinary tract symptoms. It is not about completely eliminating caffeine, but about sensible moderation. A moderate dose in the morning usually causes no issues. After that, it is wise to switch to decaffeinated beverages or non-stimulant herbal teas. Within a few days, you may feel a noticeable improvement. Moderate caffeine intake is one of the simplest ways to reduce strain on the bladder and allow the prostate to function with less tension. The seventh habit affecting prostate health is excessive spicy food and highly processed products. Diet has a direct impact on prostate health, and two categories are especially harmful: dishes loaded with spices and industrially processed foods. Peppers, hot sauces, and concentrated spices, rich in compounds that provoke inflammation in sensitive tissues, can, when used frequently, irritate not only the gastrointestinal tract, but also the tissues around the bladder and prostate. Equally dangerous are ultra-processed foods that contain artificial preservatives, flavor enhancers, hydrogenated fats, excessive sodium, and hidden sugars. These components directly affect hormonal balance, overload the liver, and hinder toxin elimination. For the prostate, this is particularly risky because the combination of systemic inflammation and hormonal disruption creates a favorable environment for enlargement. This process usually goes unnoticed in its early stages, developing slowly and without pronounced symptoms. In addition, excessive salt intake leads to fluid retention, creating extra load on the bladder and worsening symptoms such as urgency and frequent urination. However, cutting back on such foods does not mean giving up tasty meals. Simple alternatives, natural spices, olive oil, turmeric, and fresh vegetables allow you to preserve enjoyable flavors while protecting prostate health for the future. Prostate health begins with a mindful approach to your diet. Unconscious choices at lunchtime can gradually become a chronic threat to health. The sixth habit that often harms the prostate is delaying urination. Among automatic behaviors detrimental to the prostate, holding urine is one of the leading yet most overlooked. For the sake of convenience, haste, or habit, many men put off going to the bathroom even when their bodies signal the need. The pressure caused by prolonged urine retention negatively affects the bladder, and because the prostate is located so close by, this stress is transmitted to it as well, provoking repeated irritation. Stagnant fluid in the bladder also creates favorable conditions for bacterial growth, increasing the risk of urinary infections that in turn harm prostate tissue. Chronic inflammation develops gradually but persistently. It is also important to note that incomplete bladder emptying can contribute to prostate issues. Over time, the muscles of the urinary system become less efficient. Constantly holding urine makes complete emptying harder, and the leftover urine increases pressure and irritates the bladder walls. Prevention lies in paying attention to your body's signals. Go to the bathroom as soon as you feel the urge, without postponing, to maintain normal urinary function and minimize prostate risks. Although it may seem minor, over time this habit leaves a significant mark on prostate health. The fifth habit to change is excess abdominal fat. Its presence not only affects appearance, but also brings serious prostate health problems, acting as an active inflammatory factor in the body. Visceral fat functions like an endocrine gland. The inflammatory substances it releases spread through the blood and directly affect sensitive organs, including the prostate. Fat accumulation also disrupts hormonal balance. Men with abdominal obesity often show higher estrogen and lower testosterone levels, which creates favorable conditions for abnormal prostate growth. An equally important factor is the physical pressure exerted by excess weight. Abdominal weight compresses internal organs, interferes with bladder function, and increases resistance in the urethra. As a result, urinary symptoms worsen and complete bladder emptying becomes more difficult. Even modest weight loss can noticeably improve the situation. Reducing waist circumference lessens local pressure, improves urination, and helps control the progression of hyperplasia. This is not about radical dieting. To safely start improving health, regular walks, small dietary adjustments, and cutting back on sugar are enough. Caring for your waist is essentially caring for your prostate's well-being. The fourth habit is ignoring preventive checkups. Avoiding doctor visits and postponing scheduled checkups is one of the most dangerous choices for health. Prostate problems can progress silently for years, painless and unnoticed in daily life. That is why the issue is often discovered only after significant deterioration has already occurred. Simple diagnostic methods, such as a digital rectal exam and a PSA blood test, provide important information about inflammation, changes in gland volume, and possible abnormalities. Skipping regular screening allows small deviations to grow and develop unnoticed. Another barrier to early diagnosis is the discomfort or embarrassment men feel when discussing urinary symptoms. Many prefer to ignore the topic or blame obvious signs, such as frequent urination or the sensation of incomplete emptying, on trivial factors. This attitude can hinder timely detection of both serious and minor problems, and screening, in addition to identifying severe disease, can guide simple lifestyle decisions. Early detection often avoids the need for medications, surgery, and hospitalization. Adjusting diet, hydration, and activity levels can deliver tangible results. Waiting until symptoms reach a critical point is the most common and riskiest approach for those who neglect prevention. An annual doctor's visit with special attention to the prostate is a foundational step that significantly affects well-being in later life. The third habit that can negatively affect prostate health is excessive consumption of red meat, especially processed products like bacon, sausage, and deli meats. Overconsumption, rather than the food itself, can have a direct impact on the prostate. The issue is not that red meat is inherently harmful, but that regular, high-quantity intake without balancing other protein sources can be unfavorable. These foods contain saturated fats and compounds that provoke inflammation. Chronic inflammation leads to gradual prostate enlargement and worsening urinary disturbances over time. Processed meats rich in preservatives, nitrates, and chemical additives may disrupt hormonal balance and trigger oxidative stress at the cellular level. The older body responds more slowly to such aggressive factors, and the negative impact accumulates over the years. Digestive load matters as well. With age, metabolism slows, digestion worsens, and waste elimination becomes harder. Red meat requires substantial energy to digest, can overtax metabolism, and promotes abdominal obesity, which also harms prostate health. A complete rejection of meat is not necessary. It is enough to reduce intake, periodically replacing it with fish, eggs, legumes, or grilled chicken. Noticeable positive changes can be expected within a few weeks. Cutting back on red meat is not a total ban, but a mindful step to support prostate function with lower inflammation and a more balanced state. The second habit to change is active smoking or frequent exposure to tobacco smoke. Smoking, and even just being around smokers, poses a serious danger to prostate health that goes beyond effects on the respiratory system. Tobacco smoke, made up of thousands of toxic substances, penetrates the body and disrupts tissue oxidation, increasing cellular oxidative stress. This chronic load reduces the tissue's ability to repair and creates a favorable environment for chronic inflammation. For the prostate, this effect is especially marked. Impaired blood circulation hinders delivery of nutrients and oxygen to the pelvic area. At the same time, toxins in smoke provoke local inflammation, leading to abnormal gland growth. Even passive smoking, being in smoky rooms, carries long-term risks, though lower than active smoking. The risk of pathology still remains. Smoking also disrupts hormonal balance and depletes natural antioxidants, weakening the body's ability to protect the prostate from cellular damage. Quitting smoking or eliminating passive exposure benefits every system. Within days, circulation improves, inflammatory markers drop, and the body begins to repair damage sustained over long periods. Caring for prostate health starts with removing obvious threats, and cigarettes are foremost among them. It is also important to pay attention to the habit of living under constant stress and failing to manage emotional tension. Chronic stress, a quiet destroyer, harms men's health and directly affects the prostate. Although it does not always produce immediate symptoms, its consequences accumulate, disrupting internal regulation and provoking chronic inflammation. Persistent tension raises hormones, such as cortisol. This hormonal imbalance weakens immunity, impairs natural regeneration, and promotes transformation of prostate tissues. Long-term stress triggers muscle tension in the pelvic area, disrupts local circulation, and negatively affects the peripheral nerves responsible for urination. The result is more pronounced symptoms, such as urgency, pain, or difficulty fully emptying the bladder. Prostate health depends not only on diet and physical activity, but also on the nervous system's well-being. Under stress, the body reacts sharply to inflammatory factors, driving faster gland growth. Ignoring daily emotional strain allows this process to run unchecked. Meanwhile, simple practices, mindful breathing, regular rest, easy walks, and moments of solitude can lower inner tension and restore physiological balance. Mental health and prostate health are closely linked and are shaped by a series of small but consistent daily choices. In conclusion, now that you're familiar with 10 habits that quietly influence prostate enlargement, the choice is yours. Disregarding these factors can ultimately lead to unwanted consequences, discomfort, sleepless nights, unnecessary medications, and loss of independence. Adjusting these simple daily habits is a real and achievable way to strengthen your health in the future. Do not postpone improvements until symptoms worsen. Start small. Change one habit. Make one mindful choice. The results will not be long in coming, and your body will respond. If this information was useful to you, write in the comments. Every corrected choice is a step toward my well-being. Demonstrating care for your own well-being and becoming an example for other men is what you will achieve by sharing this video. Share it with friends, brothers, fathers, or anyone who might benefit. The topic is truly important and deserves attention. To avoid missing new releases, click like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Every week you will find reliable, up-to-date, and practical information here for a better life after 60. Thank you for your attention. M.